Okay, this is Randy Sprinklers. And Saturday, I picked up a box of sprinklers from someone who was trying to sell some sprinklers. So they happen to be local and close enough for me to pick them up. So I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. I think he asked me if I was a collector, and I had to tell him yes, since I was about 3 or 4 years old. But of course, back then I was just mystified by them. So I want to talk about this one first. Um, this is your zinc model, and if you haven't already understood by now from some of my discussion about these horrible things, um, they work while they work. And the problem is, the worst problem on these is, well, first of all, they're cheaply made. Second of all, is the arm will wear out, and I have some that are very worn out, and I'll show that in another episode. But this one happens to be a Nan which was made in Israel. Um, so it might be a little bit better quality, but most of these are Chinese and they're just horrible. Um, they might serve the purpose in your yard, and that's about as much as I'll say about them. Um, for me, they're good for not much more than parts. And in some cases, if I had a yard big enough, would I use them? If I needed a replacement for temporary, whatever, that would be fine. So the next one, which was a nice find, which was a Rainbird 25 old style PJ arm. Um, you can see the 25 and the PJ. A lot of people don't know PJ stands for precision jet. Of course, the part that's missing here is the little clip down here to send it back in reverse or to reverse directions. So I'll have to either make one or take one off of something else like this and see if I can't make it work. But in general, this seemed like a pretty good sprinkler. Now, one of the things is most of these sprinklers, whether it's this one or something else, the spring for me is a little on the tight side. I prefer the spring to be looser. Not that this is like so tight, but as you probably saw in my last video, I think it is, where I have a U61 design out there. And, and here's where things get confusing. Now, this is a U61 DP. As you can see, it has the tube on the side. And although this is a 7502 Turfco, it too is a U61. But look at the big difference in the design of the housing or the body itself. This is, I think, is an older design and much better and, well, I'll just say much better made than this model. These work. I just don't think they work as well. So I'm going to take and show you the ones that I cleaned up. And these are the champs that I had mentioned. And so this is as you can see here, U61D. This says U61DP because this has got the precision jet. This has a regular spoon. But notice the difference in the design. They're still U61s. So there are some differences. And part of it is this cut here, the way this is like cut short. This has got a longer neck here and a longer neck further down than this one. This is shorter here and shorter down this way. Notice the difference. Um, on the spoon models of these, let's see, there's a spoon model. Now this one is listed as an SU63D. Why 63? I don't know. I can't explain that. Um, whether that was an upgrade in model design. This too is a U, that says SU 63D. I assume that means spoon, the U63-D design. And so again, it's all based on the same concept. So here's the U61. I kind of like call these minis compared to the regular U61, and they operate a little differently because of the way the spoon is. This has a really very small spoon compared to the normal U61 spoon. As you can see, the difference between the two, very much different. And so um, I'm not, I don't know enough about what changed in their design patterns when they went from the U61 to the 63, but um, both of these are listed as SU63Ds. So anyway, so put that to the side. So in my collection that I picked up was the 7502 Turfco, and it's the older U61D design like this. So if I get that out of the way, and you can see the spoons are basically the same. This one's just dirty. Um, and something I'm going to show you here in a little bit, but I just want to show you the sprinklers that I got. So very quickly, when he asked me if I was a collector, I told him, yeah, I'm a collector, and then proceeded to identify each of the sprinklers. And so I picked this one up and said, this is a P4, not a P5. This is a P4 PJ. And the reason why it's a P4 is because it doesn't have the top piece on it. That was just what they did in their design. And that may also have been so that they could um, put these in a canister. The other thing that's you don't see as much on at least a rainbird is this is plastic. That center pin is plastic. Why? Well, obviously it saves money. Here's a P5 R model, and of course the stops are missing, the arc stops. Um, this part of it seems to work fine. I have other ones inside that don't work as well as that. Um, but this has the metal, it's a metal pin, metal center pin, basically like you would expect on most of the sprinklers. Um, so after identifying them, I knew I had some pieces that were just going to be parts, and other pieces would work fine once I um, put the other parts in. Now, one of the things is that the little knob for the pin here is broken off. So what I'd wind up having to do is is unscrew this piece. Let's see, which way do I have to go? Nope, I was in the right direction. So I pull that out, and you see it's broken off. And so what I'd wind up doing is either put one from another broken sprinkler in here, or a screw that fits this pretty fine thread pattern. Um, so I don't think it matters one way or the other, but um, there it is. Okay, so what I want to do is take this particular sprinkler that um, initially had a very tight spring. And so what I did is undid the two ends here and then shortened them so that the tension is much less. So when you see, let's take this one as an example, untouched, much more solid and much tighter. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I have a tendency to do, and I do it for two reasons. One, because my ear tells me it's what I like, and two is because um, it helps increase the scooting of back the backward movement. So, or the reverse, as we would also call it. Um, so as you can see, I've got a hold of the end there, and I'm bending it back out as if though I was going to try and thread this back through. And basically the idea would be to, it's an older spring, so it doesn't want to move as quickly. But you see, I've got it down to just a little bit there. But now what I need to do is take that little bit and bend it. And I'm going to bend it the other way enough to so now it's almost too much. You see how it doesn't want to, like if I laid it the other way, it doesn't want to close all the way. Now, my bet is it would still work like this, but I'm going to tighten it up just a hair because that's just a little bit too loose. So that's probably just about right. And I'll know when I go to put it in operation. The one that I have out there that I've been using, that I showed in the last video, I lightened it up quite a bit. Now, if it didn't seem to have enough here, I still have enough room, once I can get that to thread back through, where I could grab a hold of this piece and turn that up. But in this case, I don't need to. Okay, go back down, and you can go back down. So this should be light enough for what I'm doing, or at least for my use. That will help. So, one of the things that I find interesting is a lot of your plastic sprinklers now have, instead of using the holes, they're using these like little hooks. And so basically, you can actually take the spring off. Let's see if I can do it. So you see, I just took it off of the arm completely, and they're on, these are hooks instead of going through the threads. Now, this particular arm happens to have the option for both. Um, yeah, it has the option for both, and you can do it either way. Um, Now, here's the other thing too: is this spring. Let's see. Okay, so both of these are U61D designs. This one uses a heavier spring, but that's also an older spring, and this is stainless steel. So I don't know whether this is a copper or brass, but these would rust out real fast. And so part of making sure this is that it goes through that hole real easy, and the same thing up here. This one, this hole up at the top isn't moving very easy. And I would have to take a screwdriver and work on that. But basically, it should be able to move back and forth, which, there we go. So the idea is so that um, when I'm loosening the spring here, I know exactly what I'm getting. Okay. So you got my experience for the weekend was there's only 5 of them in here. I pulled one out to do, um, oh, one more thing I'm going to show you. I had mentioned it in the last video that I had a U61 A. Well, here it is. And even this one is probably just a hair bit bigger than this one, but you notice a little bit difference in the arm. And here's where the really big difference is when you look at them from the top side. The tail end of the U61A, this one, is much bigger and heavier than the U61D. Now, I haven't put this out for test yet, and I will, um, and see how that compares. Oh, here's another issue. So you probably wouldn't have noticed it, but um, the nozzle is broken. As it, let's say as you would have access to getting it out. I would be able to get it out eventually. Um, but my bet is like it is, it will work just fine. And and that's what will throw people off, when you go to look at it and you go like, well, the nozzle's broken. Yeah, that's right. But it still works. And this too also has the heavier spring, the older design spring. And you see it's copper. Um, where again, all the newer ones have the stainless steel springs, and you don't have to have as heavy a spring. See, stainless steel, even as cheap sprinkler, stainless steel, and as I said, if I didn't use any other part on here, I can access this stainless steel spring and use it in another sprinkler, um, whether it's as a replacement or whatever. And again, when these first came out, they didn't have stainless steel springs, but later years, stainless steel. That one doesn't. Let's see. All the rest of these have stainless steel except for this one and the Turf Go that I just showed you. All of them have stainless steel. So they're newer models. So I will figure out which one I'm going to test out for you, and I will add that to the discussion. Um, I have a bunch of these other um, smaller designs, or what I would call the um, so I mentioned the 63, and what here is the 61, and of course this one happens to be a PJ model, but otherwise the body is the same. The body is the same. Um, it's amazing uh, that this is a little bit different in design, and this would be a 63, and this one's a 61. And to me, this is like a miniature or a micro 61. So, okay. Uh, with that, we will call it a video. Um, if you like, subscribe, and please press the like button. And thank you for watching. That is working so nicely. Make sure I'm on here. Yep. No, that is a U61 DP, but it's the smaller model. It's not the big one. It's the, if you want to call it, the newer design. And God, it's worked so beautifully. I didn't expect it to be that good. The PJ arm is putting the water out where it's supposed to be. I lightened up the spring a little bit, and like, wow. So part of the reason for lightening the spring is so that um, arm swings out more, which slows down the forward speed of the arm a little bit, but then the reverse is enhanced um, as a result. Let's see here. I'm just so mystified by the results. I didn't expect it to be this good. Because when I tested these out originally, they didn't work out so good. Oh, here's another thing that I didn't mention before the test, and that is the spoon arm version of this smaller design requires a bearing spring. So the bearing, between the bearing and the body, there's a spring to help keep the body or to prevent the body wobble that occurs on spoon arm models more so than the PJ arm designs. So this particular model doesn't have a bearing spring. When I say bearing spring, between the bearing the bearing sleeve and the body itself. So here's the other thing: when they changed out the design um, of the washers, when they went with a new washer design, the older washer design was more of a fibrous washer or a fibrous rubber washer, where the newer rubber washer is like what we use today. It's more solid design. It's not a fibrous kind of design. And so with the new design, for some reason, it wasn't like working enough well with the bearing itself or the bearing sleeve so that uh, it would be able to catch each time the arm hit the body. And so what would happen is when the arm would swing back outward, it would pull the body, it would want to pull the body with it. And so then you'd have this, what I call a body wobble, with the sprinkler wanting to stand pretty much in the same place. And I saw this with the old plastic sprinklers that I worked with years ago. And of course, I didn't know then what I know now. And of course, the change in design helped prevent that and changed the need for that. Now, your modern plastic design, your modern cheap plastic designs, to the best of my knowledge, almost all of them use some sort of spring between the bearing sleeve and the body just to create enough pressure to keep the sprinkler from going into the unstable body wobble. And it also helps make it so that it'll operate on uh, lower water pressure. Yeah, I'm like thrilled to death with this. This is great. Well, this will run for about 20 minutes, and I'm not going to do the video for 20 minutes. But the cleanup and the lightening of the spring is very successful, and you can see the results. And with that, we will see you in the next video, I hope.